All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are here on track 2 alongside Biggie Tall's I Am Star Spangled Hammer, and we're bringing you action here between the St. Louis Gatekeepers and Houston Men's Roller Derby. And we're going to get right underway as they are not wasting any time. Magnum PIMP, the jammer for St. Louis, and he is your lead jammer.
JJ Battles on the floor for Houston Men's Roller Derby. Houston is skating in blue, whereas St. Louis is skating in black. This is day 3 of the Big O 2018. Sunday, we've had a lot of derby over this weekend. Still a few games to go, including this one.
So the first points on the board, 2 points there for Magnum PIMP and the St. Louis Gatekeepers. So the final game for both of these squads here at the 2018 Big O event. And it's now Shane Bauer on the jammer line for St. Louis.
It's like Sweet Feet on the jammer line for Houston Men's. Lead goes almost immediately to St. Louis.
Shane Bauer quickly through, picking up 5 points. Grand slam there for St. Louis. And we have our first power jam as Sweet Feet takes a seat in the penalty box. Looked like a track cut was the call, and a grand slam there for Shane Bauer.
Sir Nick Zalot, who got the first penalty of the game, coming back out to rejoin the Gatekeepers during this power jam.
Nice little apex jump there by Shane Bauer. Another 5 on the board. Sweet Feet standing in the penalty box, ready to re-enter play. Another 5 points there.
Sweet Feet working up the inside line, getting forced out of bounds.
Another 5-point pass there.
Sweet Feet coming back, getting good support from the rest of the Houston blockers to keep St. Louis from running back too far, keeping him from having to come all the way around the track. Good force out by Impending Doom against Shane Bauer, pushing Shane Bauer to the inside of the track there.
So a big jam here early for the Gatekeepers, a 44-point jam on the second jam for Shane Bauer, and it's going to be JJ Battles now out there for Houston, taking on David Metcalf for St. Louis.
Houston fielding a team of 10 players in total. Skating is 0, the Big O, 135 Sniper, 311 JJ Battles, 42 Sweet Feet, 464 Grease Monkey, 501 Sergeant Psycho, 55 Astrostash, 665 Impending Doom, 69 Star, and 713 Skidmark.
David Metcalf, your lead jammer here for St. Louis. The roster for St. Louis: 0260 Spin Diesel, number 1 the Saint, 22 Nate Bauer, 314 Double XL, 32 Shane Bauer, 37 Michael Diamaro, 386 Metcalf, number 5 Bruno Scars, 506 Matthew Utendorf, 5150 Hulk, 6 Sir Nick-a-Lot, 618 Blood Zeppelin, 7 Magnum PIMP, 73 Kyle Stark, and 99 Last Rights.
Metcalf has made another 5-point pass there, definitely putting a lot of movement around the track, just keeps going. Gets forced out of bounds. Hammer, did you catch who did that block there?
I did not.
That's the other side of the track. If you're watching on screen, we're in the opposite corner from you, so we'll try to give you a little update on everything that happens over here. It's a little hard to see from the camera.
Nice work by Metcalf around the outside. J.J. Battle still trying to complete his initial pass. Kyle Stark with a big force out on the outside, but it looks like he's going to pick up a forearm call.
Also see 440 Waya on the track for Houston right now. Had been forcing Stark out of bounds.
So a 25-point jam there for David Metcalf takes us to 71 St. Louis, 0 Houston.
Houston fielding 464 Grease Monkey.
St. Louis with number 5, Bruno Scars on the line. 4-on-3 pack advantage in favor of Houston right now as Kyle Stark still sits in the penalty box. Bruno Scars, your lead jammer here. Led Zeppelin headed to penalty box for a forearm call. Kyle Stark re-entering play. 5 points already notched up by Bruno Scars.
Grease Monkey making it out on the initial pass, coming around to score. Gatekeepers calling it off before he can put any points on the board.
So 2 points there on that jam for the Gatekeepers, and now we have Sweet Feet out there again going up against Last Rites for St. Louis.
Still a slight blocker advantage for Houston. St. Louis hasn't yet to have a jammer penalty, but has had a little bit of blocker penalty going on there.
Yes, and your eyes do not deceive you. You watching at home that aren't familiar maybe with the St. Louis Gatekeepers, Last Rites is the biggest guy on the track right now, and he is the jammer. The Last Rites is your lead jammer.
Last Rites proving big does not equal slow, as he has very fleet feet towards the outside of the track there coming into turn 1. Comes around on the initial and then does a second pass to score first 5 points there.
Last Rites with a hockey background.
Sir Nix-a-Lot forcing the Houston jammer down between turns 3 and 4. Real hard hit, takes Sweet Feet, makes him slide almost 10 feet there on the outside of the track.
Meanwhile, Last Rites running over Astrostash.
Number 665 on Houston trying to do some offensive assists there, but not having a lot of luck moving those Gatekeepers.
Hulk taking a seat now for St. Louis. But each team with one blocker in the box now, so a little more room for these jammers to work with.
Sir Nix-a-Lot getting assist off a Houston blocker. Well, not an assist, but bumping off a Houston blocker to stay in the way of Sweet Feet. Sweet Feet finally making it out, finishing his initial pass. 13 seconds remaining in the jam at this point.
I think we're going to get some points here for Houston as a late call off by Last Rites.
Little discussion going on between the jammer ref and the IPR.
And 2 points.
2 points. That puts Houston on the board. That puts the score 112-2. 10 minutes into this first half.
So, correction, that's going to be 3 points for Houston.
Number 311, J.J. Battles, lining up to jam for Houston. Number 7, Magnum PIMP, jamming for St. Louis.
official timeout right now.
Dred Huchuli, the head referee, having a quick conversation with both teams.
So the score right now, 112-3. Just over 20 minutes to go here in the first half.
Officials are checking that all skaters on the track are on the charter. Thank you.
So they're checking out the same thing that we noticed earlier, the 440 on Houston men's. Not reflected on the paperwork we received. I believe they're checking to make sure they're reflected on the paperwork that the officials are using as well. Looks like it's been cleared up and we're ready to restart.
So back in action here, Magnum PIMP up front, and he's going to be your lead jammer. Meanwhile,
Spin Diesel forcing JJ Battles out of bounds repeatedly now, twice in a row.
one thing the Gatekeepers do so well is you get by them, and then suddenly they're back at the front of the pack waiting for you again.
Oh, and it's even the same people. So,
yeah,
you know, there's that one person who's calling the defense, and next thing you know, they're still there, and the other people who were doing the defense are right up in front of you. Got to say, as a jammer, that's a really terrifying experience and kind of demoralizing as well. You end up going, I just got past these people.
Yeah.
Absolutely admire the persistence of these jammers to just keep pushing and pushing, sometimes even all the way up to 2 minutes without making it out on a pass.
4 points on that pass. No point, no pass. Utendorf and Stark right now up front working on JJ Battles. They force him out of play, and he's going to cycle back.
Looks like he was avoiding a cut there.
Mm-hmm. Magnum PIMP at this point looks like he's just trying to kill off the penalty on Spin Diesel.
St. Louis having gone to full defense with no offense. Looks like Magnum is just conserving energy till the Gatekeepers have somebody to spare for offense.
So 5 more points there.
Finishes off as a 24-point jam in favor of the Gatekeepers.
So Shane Bauer now out there for St. Louis, going up against Sweet Feet for Houston.
Spin Diesel finally making it out of the penalty box, skipping up the inside line right up to the front. But Sweet Feet steps right past him and a couple of other Gatekeepers. Good job there for Sweet Feet.
So that forces Shane Bauer to call that jam off after picking up a quick 4 points there for St. Louis. And look at this. Double XL donning the star, and the 4 jammers for St. Louis are his pack. What is going on here?
So you're saying that double XL does not a regular part of the jammer rotation?
At the buffet line, yes.
Not
at the
so
jammer
much with the
line.
jammer line.
And he is going to be your lead jammer, but he picks up a
forearm. Yep, forearm, forcing down one of the Houston blockers with a outside forearm in turn 1.
Shane Bauer picking up a forearm as well, so an opportunity here for Houston. Oh, and then last rights chasing him down, unable to keep him contained.
I believe this is the first lead jammer for Houston.
Yes,
464 Grease Monkey picking that up.
You are correct. Oh. So 5 points, a grand slam. Yeah, he's got a skate lace loose that took him out. Double XL re-entering play along with Shane Bauer.
So put double XL on his initial pass.
So 4 more points. So it'll be J.J. Battles out there now for Houston, taking on David Metcalf for St. Louis.
Looks like we've just picked up a lot of signs there on the outside of turn 1.
Yeah, that would be the arch rival roller derby ladies. They are big fans of the Gatekeepers, as are the Gatekeepers of arch rival. 2 very closely knit leagues.
Apparently the sign says to do the things. That's an important instruction there for Saint.
Yes.
Metcalf putting 5 more points on the board for the Gatekeepers. Metcalf hanging in for a second to play a little bit of defense there with Spin Diesel.
Yep.
Goes along with a star pass on the part of Houston men's.
Notice a lot of signs over there regarding the Saint, and that a lot of that probably has to do with the fact that he is one of the coaches of our tribal roller derby's A team, their travel team.
That would do it. Grease Monkey now jamming, having taken the star for Houston.
So last rights now back out there jamming for St. Louis, going up against Sweet Feet for Houston.
Metcalf put 25 points on in that last jam.
Big O and Last Rights trying to stand each other up. Last Rights gets the better of that confrontation, and he is going to be your lead jammer.
Sweet Feet being held down at the back by Double XL and Hulk. That is a lot of skater to be up against, both in skill and in size. Gotta say, if I were going to pick 2 players on that floor to try and push around, they would not be the top of my list.
Meanwhile, second scoring pass for Last Rights, another grand slam. Third scoring pass now in the books, and they have another grand slam here for last rights.
Getting a little tripped up, but mostly coming through the pack without any particular opposition.
Track cut call on last right, so now this jam will go the full 2 minutes. Sweet Feet, the only jammer out there.
Looks like Starr there on the inside line for Houston, forcing last rights to just take one step on the other side of the line, and that'll do it. That'll get you a track cut. Starr was off there for Sweet Feet, but is back on now. The Big O giving a solid offensive assist on the outside to Sweet Feet.
Grand slam there for Sweet Feet. Meanwhile, Power Jam comes to an end. Last right's back in play. Oh, Quotable Hulk with a big hit on Sweet Feet.
Last right stepping back out on the floor when Houston was busy setting up for offense, and that's a big hit there.
So the Big O hits last rights, and that forces last rights into the legs of a Houston blocker. So a low block issued to last rights.
You are still responsible for your actions, as the rules say.
That is correct. So Grease Monkey will start this jam unopposed. Saint, Utendorf, Zeppelin, and Bauer out there blocking. That'd be Nate Bauer, brother of jammer Shane Bauer.
Houston blockers initially starting holding back, leaving their jammer to make their own way through the pack, deciding that wasn't really working for him and doing a good job stepping in, breaking up the St. Louis blockers a bit.
Power Jam comes to an end as last rights re-enters play.
Lead is still open.
That is correct. And now last rights is your lead jammer.
So 9 lead jams so far for the Gatekeepers, 1 lead jam for Houston men's.
So the score right now 189 to 18 in favor of St. Louis.
JJ Battles lining up alongside Magnum PIMP. Quick conversation going on between the blue jammer ref and their scorekeeper, making sure everything's squared up. You can't correct points after the next jam starts, so you sometimes just have to stop the clock for a moment to make sure you've got everything right, all of your T's crossed, your I's dotted. Or is that your I's crossed and your T's dotted?
Something like that.
Yeah, something like that.
Be sure, if you're out there on social media, to use the hashtag BigO2018 in all your tournament posts this weekend as the official hashtag of the tournament this year.
Also, if you have cats or dogs watching, we have hashtag BigOCats and hashtag BigODogs. They'll also work for things like hedgehogs in a cat costume, or
Sure, why not?
Iguanas, geckos.
Fun fact.
Yeah?
Downtown Dallas, coach of the St. Louis Gatekeepers, has a pet hedgehog.
Excellent.
Yep.
Fun fact, if you are wearing jeans and you have a pet hedgehog, don't let it go around on the floor, because once it starts up the leg, it can't back down.
This sounds like experience.
Yeah, there might be a little bit of experience there. You end up, just trying to help the hedgehog figure out how to get all the way up and out. Out.
The hedgehog, by the way, is named Edison, after Thomas Edison.
Very smart.
Mm-hmm.
Fun fact, The inventor of electronic television was named Phineas T. Farnsworth, which sounds like a name you would make up if you were trying to make up a ridiculous 19th century name.
I think it sounds kind of like a villain from a Jules Verne novel. So we're back in action. Magnum PIMP out there against JJ Battles. Magnum trying to work his way through the pack, and he does. He is your lead jammer here for St. Louis. JJ Battles stuck in the back of the pack. Incredible Hulk, Kyle Stark, Double XL working on him. Oh, big hit by Hulk, but he takes the fall. Meanwhile, Magnum PIMP gets through. 5 points, grand slam. Incredible Hulk sent to the penalty box.
JJ making it out the front of the pack, just on the outside of turn 2, but also the jam ending almost immediately, just as St. Louis calls it off. Magnum choosing to end that and take the 4-0 rather than take any risk at all.
Shane Bauer once again out on the jammer line for St. Louis. Going to go up against Sweet Feet for Houston.
Both teams going for straight defense here. 3 gatekeepers at the back, 4 Houston players at the front. Houston loses, looks like they lose the Big O. Yeah, they lose the Big O who was pivoting to the box, so now it's 3 versus 3.
The gatekeepers are really not changing their typical strategy at all. They have a lot of faith in their jammers to get through without a whole lot of help.
Yeah, you can see the occasional gatekeeper coming up and doing an offensive assist, often really carefully timed. But for the most part, they're just going on straight defense, which is making a lot of work for the Houston Jammers.
So back block called on Shane Bauer. So power jam here now for Houston.
You can see Houston attempting to assist up the inside line.
Sweet Feet really just not able to find any room to work.
The pack is really tight with everybody in close, so even the assists from Houston tend to not leave a whole lot of room for Sweet Feet to get through. Still a lot of fight in his jamming.
So I believe we've had a star pass to the Big O. Yes, we have.
Fun fact, the Big O is either named in honor of this tournament or this tournament is named in the honor of Big O. Neither of those, by the way, might actually be true.
We'll let you guys decide at home.
Very nice hit from Star, sending Bowers out of bounds, just using all of Bowers' momentum against him.
So that jam comes to an end. 5 more points there for St. Louis.
Houston does put up 3 points.
3 points there for Houston. So 217 to 21. With 5:45 to go here in the first half. It's going to be now David Metcalf out there against Grease Monkey for Houston.
Metcalf landing up far behind, taking advantage of momentum coming into the pack.
And he's going to be your lead jammer, St. Louis.
He forces the Houston blockers just to go to the outside and then takes the inside line from them as they leave it. Houston blockers doing a good job of lateral movement and keeping together, just not quite as quick as the St. Louis jammers on their feet.
So it looks like a track cut call on Metcalf. So power jam here now for Houston.
Houston has shown a lot of success using the momentum of the gatekeepers jammers to just send them out of bounds. This is a scoring pass for Grease Monkey.
Yep, that it is.
And definitely picked up a couple of points. We'll see how it goes getting all of them. Oh, shrugs off a huge hit from, what is that, number 6? That's Sir Nix-a-Lot on the Gatekeepers.
Metcalf trying to call that jam off, but he's not the lead jammer.
Of course, coming out of the box, you'd think you wouldn't try to call off the jam. Thankfully, the referee does not believe the call off.
Another grand slam there for David Metcalf.
Grease Monkey seems to have picked up what Sir Nix-a-Lot is laying down. A handful of hits from Sir Nix-a-Lot that Grease Monkey is just shrugging off and keeping going. They're real solid looking hits. Just seems he's gotten it figured out for the moment.
So 9 points there. 9 points for Houston, 17 for St. Louis, takes us to 234-30. 3:25 on the clock. An official review did not. Looks like it's an official review for Houston. WFTDA tournaments provide everyone who loves roller derby an opportunity to witness the most anticipated matchups of the year. Get all the information on the 2018 International WFTDA Playoff and Championships at WFTDA.com/tournaments. Give a shout out here now to JJ back in St. Louis, who's been hosting watch parties all weekend for the Big O 2018. Also a shout out to Monster Jam, who was unable to make it here to Big O due to an unfortunate injury earlier this season.
So Houston, in the last 10 minutes of the game, definitely getting a little more point movement, a little more score movement. Don't know if it looks like they've been doing much different for the Jammers. The Jammers have looked pretty high energy the whole time, but they've definitely changed up how they're doing the offense for the rest of the blockers. St. Louis is a really hard team to do offense against, so I can understand taking a little while for Houston to get really dialed in on figuring out how to work against that. Houston doing a pretty good job staying clean on blocker penalties. Relatively few trips to the penalty box. See if we can grab some statistics at halftime.
Statistics. That's just lying with numbers.
I know. Announcers can't do math anyway. So.
No. You kidding me? Most of us can't read.
St. Louis was requesting a cut on the Houston Jammer. There is insufficient evidence to call this cut. St. Louis will lose their official review.
All right, the no call stands.
So there you have it. Attempted review for a track cut. No call. So status quo remains, and it will now be Bruno Scars out there in the jammer line going up against JJ Battles for Houston.
Looks like Star, the Big O, Impending Doom, and Sergeant Psycho all blocking out there for Houston.
Utendorf, Zeppelin, Spin Diesel, and the Saint out there for St. Louis. Lead jammer Bruno Scars putting 5 on the board there. First scoring pass is a grand slam. Montreal's new skids on the block over in turns 1 and 2, watching intently on the game now. They will be playing next here on track 2. And Bruno Scar is going to call that jam off. 5 points.
J.J. Battles heading to the penalty box at the very end of that jam. This means a power start for St. Louis. Power starting with last rights. So last rights up on the track. J.J. Battles in the box. All the blockers lining up close to the pivot line from Houston to oppose, getting really hemmed in by all of the St. Louis blockers.
That was a nice setup there by St. Louis.
Absolutely. Starting from further back, gave him the opportunity to have a little bit of distraction there, rolling in, and just make it so there really wasn't anywhere for the blockers to go. And that only works at the start of the jam, but boy, does it work great.
5 points there for last rights.
Houston picking up J.J. Battles out of the box. Is not showing the star yet, making it a little less obvious that he's coming out. Looks like he catches St. Louis a little by surprise coming in, but very quickly is picked up at the front of the pack. Successfully avoids a cut there, gets forced to spin around and step out of bounds, and just decides to come back in the safe way. Meanwhile, last right's picking up another 4 points. Last right's also getting forced out of bounds and coming back in. Again, saving it pretty quick, returning himself to the back of the pack.
Nick's now up front playing some offense there, breaks up the 3 wall, allowing last rights to jump through, pick up 5 more points, calling that jam off.
Nick's doing a really good job of multiplying blocker power, occupying 2 or 3 blockers with each offensive action.
I'm not sure we're going to get another jam in. There was right at 30 seconds when that jam came to an end.
Looks like we will. We have about 2 seconds worth of slop there, so
looks that way.
Should be the last jam of the half here.
It'll be Magnum PIMP out there. And I think that's Sweet Feet. It is out there for Houston. Magnum PIMP up front working on that wall of Houston. And he's through. He's going to be your lead jammer. Sweet Feet still stuck in the back. Utendorf, Zeppelin, and Bauer working on him. Saint now the anchor. Magnum PIMP with a little bit of an apex jump. Picks up 5 points. Grand slam there for St. Louis. We are now in extra time for this half. Another 5 points there. And now we've got a power jam as Sweet Feet picks up a track cut.
Sweet Feet not looking particularly happy about that call. Not sure if he unhappy with the call or unhappy with themselves. Or maybe both.
So 1 more scoring pass, 5 more points, and that's going to take us to the half. Your score, St. Louis 289, Houston 30. So it's going to be about a 10-minute intermission, and then Biggie Talls and I will be back to bring you second half action here on track 2 at the Big O 2018.
This is the second half of the St. Louis Gatekeepers versus Houston Men's Roller Derby. This is the Sunday on Big O 2018 on track 2. I'm Biggie Talls.
I'm Star Spangled Hammer, and day 3 winding down here. We are on track 2. Second half action between the St. Louis Gatekeepers and Houston Men's Roller Derby.
This is only Houston Men's 4th MRDA sanctioned game.
Yeah.
Very new team. They coming into this game, their goal was to beat 18 points, and they've beat that goal so far.
In the first half. So Double XL jamming once again for St. Louis.
I hear Double XL is not exactly part of the regular St. Louis Jammer rotation, but you wouldn't know it from how that action just happened. Double XL going through in just a couple of seconds and picking up lead.
go. 5 points. Grand slam for Double XL.
Sweet Feet coming back onto the floor. So officials for this game are Dread Hachuli, Lord Lextalt, Just Dylan, A Hellraiser, I believe it's Annie Hellraiser, PH Demon, Whack Job, and Kami all on skates. Working the pencils is Strong Female Character, Wiley E, Rockin' Buddha, Danger Muffin, Time Lord, Social Lies, Read D Rules, Heads Will Roll, and C-Rex.
So Double XL picking up another 5 points there before the spin move, the call off. And next up, it's going to be Shane Bauer on the line going up against Grease Monkey.
Grease Monkey in blue for Houston. And Shane Bauer taking the start for GateKeepers.
Sir Nix-a-Lot doing some offensive work on the front Houston line there. Of course, on the opposite side as the jammer, so it takes a moment for St. Louis there at the front to figure out what to do. Turns it into a lead there for Shane Bauer.
Kyle Stark up front, forcing Grease Monkey out to the outside. Cycles him all the way back. Meanwhile, Shane Bauer skating around the track, fixing his skate.
Seen a lot of in-game skate maintenance during this particular matchup. A lot more than you usually do. I mean, only a few times, but normally there is an eddy in the middle of a game. Grease Monkey keeps moving back and forth, moving his feet up there at the front, forcing the Gatekeepers up close to the edge of the engagement zone, but then the jam is called off by St. Louis.
So JJ Battles now donning the star for Houston, taking on David Metcalf for St. Louis. Little Sweet Dave action out here on the jammer line for St. Louis. The jammer secured by David Metcalf.
Nate Bauer, Spin Diesel, and Bled Zeppelin all continuing to give JJ Battles a lot of trouble at the back there. Sort of mixing up their roles. One will force them out, another one will force back. Gatekeepers seeming to have started this half planning to run the jam a little bit. We saw a lot more of the 4-0, 5-0 jams in the first half for them.
Now on the line, it is Bruno Scars for St. Louis. Sweet Feet out there for Houston.
Sir Nix-a-Lot lining up at the front with with all of the Houston defenders.
First scoring pass for Bruno Scars results in 5 points.
Sweet Feet getting pushed hard to the inside, taking a quick loop around before re-engaging. Ends up coming up right against Double XL.
Third scoring pass now here for Bruno Scars results in another 5 points, and he calls that jam off.
So definitely looks like the Gatekeepers starting out here with that strategy with the longer jams. Gatekeepers putting last rights on the floor alongside Grease Monkey 464 from Houston Men's.
Grease Monkey and Last Rights on the line. For this jam. Houston taking the front ball. And the Summit actually is the Saints up there doing that bridging position.
3:39 to 30 the score here in favor of St. Louis.
By 6-6-5 and Henry Jones.
Nate Bauer forcing Grease Monkey to midfield and then forcing Grease Monkey out of bounds to the outside. Grease Monkey making it up, but completely lacking a star right now. Not sure if that was pulled off and then dropped or if it got knocked off.
Yeah, he's not aware. Not aware he doesn't have it either. It's sitting there just past the jammer line.
Just
now
hanging out on the track.
Yep.
Of course, as soon as he comes out of the penalty box, his first job will be to go to get that again because there's a bunch of stuff he can't do until he's got it.
This is true.
Trying to keep one last blocker in that Houston wall for Last Rights to the
Magnum giving a little bit of encouragement from the bench there to Last Rights. Not sure what it was said. Probably something like, do great stuff.
Actually, I think that was more of
wall of three in turn.
some instructional
Picks up another 5 points.
enhancement there for Last Rights.
Happy to see both of these teams doing a great job of supporting both their teammates and each other.
That jam ends up being 0-20 Gatekeepers.
Hey, Hit This Derby gear has everything you need to get rolling, from skates to protective gear and unmatched service for all of your derby needs. Before you hit the track, hit this.
Hit This Derby Gear is an exclusive skate shop for the Big O. Before you hit the track, hit this.
I promise we didn't coordinate that. If you heard the house call in the background there, we just both independently decided to do that at the same time.
That was pretty funny. Magnum PIMP, the jammer for St. Louis, going up against JJ Battles.
Magnum making it out down the inside line between 1 and 2. Really quick footwork there, actually by jammers from both teams. Gatekeepers, absolutely what you expect, but really nice to see from such a new MRDA league. So much raw talent and skill on the part of Houston. Did Magnum just do that?
Do what?
Skate down the line on one skate, other foot up in the air, pick up some 5 points. As you do.
He does tend to do that on occasion. Shane Bauer now on the jammer line going up against Sweet Feet for Houston. Both teams at full strength. Penalty box has been pretty lonely place here in the second half. Not a whole lot of penalties called. Shane Bauer, your lead jammer here for St. Louis.
Jammer cover off of Sweet Feet again. Oh, late call there for a cut. Sweet Feet comes back in front of, 618?
Yeah, that's Bled Zeppelin.
Bled Zeppelin
Yep.
there on the Gatekeepers. Takes just a moment to give an opportunity by the referees to attempt to decide whether or not he has done something wrong before the penalty is declared.
So for Houston, one blocker and the jammer in the penalty box right now.
Thanks for the help there, Hammer. I can't see through the bench, so that's all you on who's in the penalty box.
I've got a pretty good view down the line here. So David Metcalf on the jammer line now, unopposed for St. Louis. Power start here.
389 for the Gatekeepers right now. Still versus 30 for Houston. Just under 20 minutes remaining in the period.
Finally relax after all of this competition.
Metcalf swooping into the outside, picks up 5 points, grand slam.
Gatekeeper is doing a really good job here of separating the Houston blockers. I mean, it's just harder to put together a solid defense when you don't have more than 2 blockers to put side by side.
Trying to do a little defense. Big O, and they're now trying to do some.
It's a wide track. I don't care how big you are. You could have 4 XLs right there across the track. There's still going to be gaps unless you got that lateral movement and that coordination.
That is correct.
Gatekeeper's putting up Bruno Scars to jam. Alongside his Grease Monkey jamming for Houston. This jam starts with one of the Houston skaters. Oh, to catch who that is, 135. That's Sniper on the track, but behind the jammer line.
Yep.
So Sniper is going to the box on the illegal procedure. Sniper will get to participate in the jam, just has to wait 30 seconds before doing it.
Yeah, he was on the track, but not in the legal area, so he'll have to spend 30 seconds.
Dred Hochuli, the head referee, coming over to clarify this.
Yep.
Meanwhile, whoa! What was that tap there from Grease Monkey on Bruno Scars? Sent Bruno Scars down. Bruno Scars had lead, so went ahead and called it off.
Shuffling around as Houston figures out who they need on the track going into this jam. We have 311 JJ Battles in blue for Houston. And his last rights for the Gatekeepers.
JJ Battles skating the jammer position here for Houston. Absolutely just facing a wall of Gatekeepers there. Finally making it past one of them, Sir Nix-a-Lot, just to end up facing Sir Nix-a-Lot again as 2 of the other Gatekeepers hold JJ down. Finally does make it out. Gets on a scoring pass, but looks like doesn't pick up any points because the Gatekeepers shut it down 5-0.
Yep. 4:17-30 now, the score in favor of St. Louis. 16:44 on the clock. Magnum PIMP now the jammer for St. Louis. Sweet Feet out there for Houston. If you're just joining us, Gatekeepers in black, Houston in blue.
We have Sweet Feet for Houston and Magnum for St. Louis.
Magnum PIMP, your lead jammer here for St. Louis.
Houston coming back to do a little offense, but then immediately has to switch to defense. Wasn't able to quite seal it up. The Gatekeepers picks up 5.
Tripod build up at the back, just holding down Sweet Feet. That's Utterdorf and Spin Diesel just back and forth in Sweet Feet's way. Finally gets broken up by the rest of the Houston blockers. Gets Sweet Feet out there right behind Magnum. Magnum makes a jump, calls it off. Let's see if any points are picked up. Looks like none from here.
4 for Magnum, none for Sweet Feet.
Sweet Feet must not have stuck that landing before the jam ended. Second half has been a real dry spell so far for Houston.
Next on the jam line, Grease Monkey for Houston.
No doubt they're chatting at the bench, trying to figure out how to change that and recreate some of the success they had in the first half.
Shane Bauer, the jammer for St. Louis. He's your lead jammer. Grease Monkey out there for Houston.
Impending doom working with Grease Monkey at the back to try and break up the Gatekeepers. Seeing if they can get Grease Monkey up. Of course, the moment Grease Monkey again gets past one of the St. Louis blockers, right back up against them. It's almost like those St. Louis blockers never say die.
Shane Bauer now with 5 points, grand slam.
Able to recover position.
His third scoring pass this jam. 15 so far notched for St. Louis. And there is a fourth scoring pass for so another 5 points, and then calling that jam off. 20 points put up on the board there by Shane Bauer.
Bauer finishing off that pass, diving down on the outside of Sniper, able to just duck down as Sniper goes for the hit. Next thing you know, Sniper's picking up air instead. Really successful skating skills there.
Bruno Scars now on the jammer line for St. Louis. JJ Battles out there for Houston.
A little change up with the Houston wall in the back. GateKeepers in the front with Big O. GateKeepers
Oh, and we're going to get a star pass here by St. Louis to combat the change in strategy by Houston. And Saint now the jammer for St. Louis. So lead jammer still open.
Saint getting pushed out to the infield by the Big O. Whole team of Houston blockers there working together, which, you know, works until it doesn't, as these things always are.
Yeah.
Spin Diesel just jogging backwards there on his toe stops, trying to hold down JJ Battles after sending JJ out of bounds.
Looking for a good time to do a little offense, trying to clear a lane for JJ.
The Saint, no stranger to jamming, started his time with the Gatekeepers as a jammer for the B team.
Is that the Beekeepers?
That it is.
You know, we don't have a sponsor read for the Beekeeper sponsor here.
Well, what's the Beekeeper sponsor?
Oh, I can't remember the name of them right now. See, so we don't have the read in front of
Yeah,
them.
I
It's
know.
an announcer. The thing goes out of my head as soon as I say it.
I'm lucky I can read.
I do know that beekeepers are called apiarists. It has
Oh,
nothing to do with apes. Everything to do with bees.
Led Zeppelin with that side,
Interesting.
able to push aside the Houston wall on his own.
The Saint breezing out of the last part of that pass, picking up 5 points, making it look easy. I know even an easy pass isn't easy, but the Saints doing the very best job possible to make this look like it's no big deal. JJ Battles looking pretty rough after coming down the last time. Seems to be having a hard time even figuring out where to go to get out of the infield. Actually ends up running into the jammer ref. Referee's keeping an eye on JJ. I have no doubt that the bench will also have a quick chat as soon as he makes it back there.
11 minutes left in this bout.
11 minutes to remain in this game. What's the score, Hammer?
the score is St. Louis 491, Houston 30. David Metcalf, the jammer for St. Louis, going up against Sweet Feet.
Matt Metcalf comes around, runs into Sniper hard. Both of them go down. Outside pack referee is checking in with Sniper. Looks like Sniper is winded but not hurt. Metcalf comes by, shakes Sniper's hand after the jam.
So timeout here by St. Louis. Experience world-class edging with the Radar Halo, available in a full range of hardnesses from 84A all the way up to 103A. There is a Halo for everyone.
I think they took mine away.
Maybe you can borrow one from Sugar Ray.
Yeah, maybe. Oh, thanks. Now that song's stuck in my head. Why do you ruin everything?
My job here is done, ladies and gentlemen. Peace out. Just kidding. You're stuck with me.
Yeah, stuck with me too.
Well, I mean, they could always just close the browser, but
Well, you know, and there's one more track with something going on. Well, actually, we're the only track going on right now.
really,
Yeah.
guess you are stuck with us then.
Track 1, Track 3 will both have games starting in 10 minutes.
10 minutes.
Of course, we've got about 10 minutes left in this
Yeah.
game, so you don't have to miss a speck of this action.
That was the end of the team time.
How convenient.
Just over 10 minutes left in this bout.
And the scoreboard obviously shows a big gap between the two teams. But when you look at the individual skills, there's a lot of fight and a lot of skill demonstrated by both of these teams. That'd be knowing that Houston is so new to the MRDA game, it's going to be really interesting to see where they come as they develop here.
Space there, but then the gatekeepers once again are able to kind of recontain and turn one there.
Last Rights jamming for the Gatekeepers has picked up lead and 5 points. Number 464, Grease Monkey jamming for Houston Men's Roller Derby. Last Rights coming down the inside line, Fleet of Foot and Light of Heel.
That was very poetic. It's like another way to say float like a butterfly, sting like a bee.
You know, I just didn't want to use that quote.
Oh, I get it. But I like that. It's good. Oh, forced out on the outside is Last Rights, and he's going to go ahead and call that one off. 4 more points there on that pass.
Gatekeepers using only a couple scoring passes before calling that.
Gatekeepers now just being methodical.
Yeah, St. Louis appearing to have really tightened up their strategy. The basic strategy hasn't changed. They've just plugged a couple of the little air holes that were showing up in their blocking during the first half. That's obviously putting a lot of hurt on the Houston Jammers. You can also see Houston has a relatively short jammer rotation, so fatigue is certainly starting to become a factor for those players. I mean, Houston brought 10 players. It's not surprising. You don't get quite as many people to jam when you only got 10 to put on the floor.
Magnum PIMP your lead jammer, but Sweet Feet out quickly, so they're going to limit the jam on this one. Magnum's going to have to call this one off after only picking up a couple, I think.
Sweet feet almost in there, but those whistles were completely done before able to get in there for the scoring pass.
One Gatekeeper coming out of the box at the very end, but Sweet Feet not picking up that point either. Coming really close, but just getting shut down by Magnum.
Let's see here. Still waiting to see a score total and 2 points. So yeah, quick call off there by Magnum PIMP, thanks to the Sweet Feet of Sweet Feet.
Once again, we have Shane Bauer and JJ Battles in the stars.
JJ Battles up for Houston. Well, that's we have a Bauer up there.
That it is. Shane Bauer with your lead jammer.
JJ Battles finding a little spot on the outside, but then gets knocked out, drawn back by Spin Diesel.
Spin Diesel and Uttendorf, well, along with Nate Bauer, giving a lot of trouble to JJ Battles at the back there.
We have a team timeout for
Houston taking a team timeout. Presumably they want to take a moment to just regroup, take a breath, spend a moment together as a team on the bench, and then come back strong.
and the currently unranked Houston Men's Roller Derby.
And it warrants noting that this is Houston's first year as an MRDA team, and this is only their 4th sanctioned game ever. So the fact that they have 30 points on the board against the #1 team in the MRDA is definitely commendable.
That's fantastic. And a short roster to boot.
So 7:17 left on the clock. The score, St. Louis 5-27, Houston 30.
Requirements in for sanctioned bouting, all done in one.
Haven't seen the same sort of really big jams that we saw in the first half of this game. And the Gatekeepers have been putting a lot of points on the board, but they've been doing 5 at a time, 10 at a time, 15 at a time. Don't have a big 20-point plus jam like we've had in the first half.
Thank you for being
A few of those in the first half, actually. Tended to be more hot and cold in the first half. This half is definitely more methodical. Looks like the Gatekeepers taking the opportunity to really bring every piece of their game. Maybe they thought that Houston was a little bit more of a threat than they expected once they'd played that first half. Might have circled back up in the halftime and said, "No, we really got to bring everything we've got."
Well, that and one of the dangers when a game gets this far out of hand is you don't want to fall back into bad habits.
Absolutely,
So
it's a real opportunity to end up with bad habits.
Yeah, so I think what you're seeing here is just them trying to be really polished and methodical about what they're doing.
On the drawback there, Sweet Feet re-entering with
Sweet Feet back out jamming.
So we have Sweet Feet versus Sweet Dave.
Sweet Dave having picked up lead, but then getting sucked back in by the Houston players. The Houston blockers forcing a lot more time taken after getting that lead. So even though Sweet Feet got stuck in the pack for a good long while in this jam, actually ended up being, I believe, a 4-0 jam. Yep, 4-0 jam.
Scars taking a turn with the star. And JJ Battles.
So Bruno Scars on the jammer line now for St. Louis.
JJ Battles lined up for Houston. The Houston blockers are started in really close to the St. Louis Gatekeepers. That's a little bit different than they've been doing, leaving a lot less air between, and doesn't seem to have stopped Bruno Scars from getting out and getting lead. Nate Bauer picking up a clockwise block penalty. Derby is played counterclockwise, not clockwise. Bauer gets to sit in the box for 30 seconds, contemplate that time goes backwards, not the direction of the clock when you are skating derby.
Just when Sweet Feet thinks he's got daylight, he looks up and there is Spin Diesel, who is shot up to the front, JJ Battles, and forces him out of play and then takes him all the way back to the pack, so now he has to go right back through. And now the jam gets called off.
Yeah, the Houston Jammers having a lot of success here, beating 3 of the Gatekeepers, but then a fourth blocker will them down. And the Gatekeepers' strength at resetting the rest of their line, putting them back in the way of the jammer, is just completely unmatched. It is one of the top versions of that in the game.
Sweet Feet now out there jamming for Houston, going up against Last Rights for St. Louis. Grease Monkey sitting in the penalty box for Houston, so a 4-on-3 pack advantage in favor of St. Louis.
Impending Doom on the outside there, trying to make sure that there was no clear path for Last Rights. Last Rights just goes ahead and blocks Impending Doom and steps through the path that was being protected to take lead.
Sweet Feet is a really good name for this jammer. Lots of moving, spinning, keeping those feet really moving.
Very agile jammer.
Sweet Feet ending up down with Astrostash standing over. Sort of a little mess there, but everybody comes out of it safe.
Mm-hmm.
Always good to see when somebody ends up down like that they don't get hurt because of it. Last Rights there almost blocks himself down to the floor. Tries to do a fancy move. I think expects the Houston blocker to step to a certain spot. The Houston blocker doesn't. Last Rights just tries to change plans in midair, and the plan ends up turning into fall down, call off the jam.
Magnum PIMP now out there jamming for St. Louis, going up against JJ Battles for Houston.
Magnum jamming for St. Louis and JJ Battles jamming for Houston.
Some very quick lateral movement.
Magnum PIMP, your lead jammer here for St. Louis.
The Saint up at the front, breaking up the Houston line. The Saint has played that role a lot in this game. Seems like a very comfortable one for him to be able to really tear apart the opponent's defensive line.
Not Gatekeepers in turn one as attempted to do a little bit of offense there, but not able to open up all four.
Astrostash stomping out of the box, running up and plowing right into Shane Bauer. Oh, no, I'm sorry. That's Nate Bauer.
So really enjoying that outside turn on one.
So Magnum PIMP picks up 5 more, calls that jam off.
Just over 2 minutes remaining in the game. 570 for the Gatekeepers, 30 for Houston Men's. Houston Men's has yet to score a point in this half. They've had a lot of fight in them. They've been right behind the St. Louis Jammers more than a handful of times. But St. Louis, with so many lead calls, actually with every lead call in this half of that is actually awarded and not, lost because of the box, has been really able to control Houston's ability to put any points on the board there, even when their jammers are otherwise delivering.
And yet again, Shane Bauer, your lead jammer here for St. Louis. Sweet Feet does get out, though, so we're only going to get 1 scoring pass here, most likely. And Shane Bauer going to call that jam off, so 4 points, I believe. Let's see.
Gatekeepers calling that to hold Houston to 0.
And now we got a timeout.
Timeout called from Houston.
And 3 points for St. Louis.
So St. Louis not picking up the full 4. Sweet Feet's pressure on there, forcing that call off, keeping the St. Louis score down.
Following a big O, you get to pass in the afterglow. That's right to the tonight. The end of tournament weekend. Official Big O after birdie.
Clock stopped at 1:14, so we're getting at least 1 more jam. Maybe 2. Maybe 3. I'm not putting any bets after that.
Never go wrong.
I'm thinking 2 is probably the most you're going to see out of this.
Their alley vintage are
That is assuming that the Gatekeepers don't just run this out if they get lead.
I know the Gatekeepers had been running longer jams earlier in this half. They've switched back to a strategy a lot closer to what they were doing in the previous half, mostly because of pressure coming from the Houston Jammers. You don't really get the opportunity to take a second scoring pass when you got the other jammer a half lap behind you.
some people just never left the grind.
That's true. That's true. Grind will never die.
If you're really feeling Prince, if you're just like super strong and sexy, I think you can just pull it off.
So Metcalf out there now for St. Louis. Grease Monkey.
Grease Monkey going down the outside right behind Metcalf and just going ahead and directly and engaging. St. Louis bench calling for Metcalf to call it off, and Metcalf does, making this a 0-0 jam.
Pretty sure that's the first one of those we've seen this game.
Definitely the first we've seen this half. Probably the first we've seen this game.
Yep, so we will get 1 more jam here.
Hey, we get our second jam.
Can we
Yep.
get some applause from the crowd for the valiant effort out here on the track? Y'all been entirely too quiet. And
I know you think there was like other derby in this gigantic
I don't know. This is like the #1 team. No big deal.
So Bruno Scars out there for St. Louis. He's going to be your lead jammer, and that is likely going to do it for this one. Sweet Feet out there for Houston. I would fully expect Bruno Scars to run this until the clock expires and then call it.
Sweet Feet getting forced down by Michael Diamaro.
Again, Bruno Scars put 5 points on board for Gatekeepers. Sweet Feet completing initial pass.
And that is going to do it, ladies and gentlemen. As the time clock expires, Bruno Scars deftly calls the jam off. And that is going to do it here.
Looks like 578 to 30.
Yep, 5 points there on that pass. So, yes, it is unofficial at the moment, but it looks like the score is going to be 578 to 30 in favor of St. Louis.
Really good showing for Houston. 4th MRDA game ever. Brand new league. Bunch of skating skills, but still working out all the details of teamwork. Really solid defense, given trouble to the St. Louis Gatekeepers. Really interested to see what comes out of this team. And
Yeah, this-
not a bad showing against the #1 in the in the MRDA.
Yeah, this is definitely a team with some talent. They've got some, they got some teamwork to work on. They're still a very young squad. They're going to be very well coached, though, as I see Haterade over there coaching them, formerly of the Texas men's roller derby, a very good player, very smart derby guy. So he's gonna bring that team around, and I think in the coming years they're going to be a very good team to watch.
Well, thank you all for joining us. I'm Biggie Talls.
And I am Star Spangled Hammer, and we are out of here.
All right.